Morning. Welcome to our virtual project information meeting for the West Bay Drive Improvements Project. I'm Tony Fabrizio with Pinellas County Communications, and I'll be one of two moderators who will be working with you today. We're excited to be able to share our updated information about this project and answer your questions. In order to make this as convenient as possible for everyone, we'll have a second identical Zoom meeting tonight at 6. The meetings are being recorded, and we'll post one of them to the project website within a couple of days. Now, let me explain how the meeting is going to go. We'll first have some opening comments from our Public Works Director, Kelly Hammer-Levy. Then our consultant project manager, Marlon Register, will give a presentation that will go into the history and the details of the project. After that, it'll be your turn, and you'll get to ask questions or offer comments. I'll go over how to do that when we get to that part of the program. But first, let's start with a welcome from Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Good morning, Tony. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We do know there's a lot of community interest in this project, and we've done our best to get the word out about today's meetings, not only to those of you who live, own businesses, and work on West Bay Drive, but also to those who travel the area for your daily commute or to head out to the beach. I'm actually one of those people, so we want to hear from everyone. In a few moments, Marlon Register with HDR, the county's design consultant, will give a presentation that will update you on the progress that we've made on this project. Then we will introduce a panel that we've assembled to hear your comments, answer your questions, and then it'll be your turn. Tony will go over the format when we get there. But the goal of this project was to evaluate West Bay Drive for safety improvements. Whether you drive, walk, or cycle, how can we make the corridor better for all users? The project background, including earlier concepts, will be presented, and how and why those earlier concepts needed to change. It is those proposed changes and design alternatives that we want and need your input on. So thank you again for joining us for this important discussion, and I'll now turn it back over to Tony.
Thank you, Kelly. Now we're going to go straight to the presentation. For that, I'm going to turn it over to Marlon Register from our consultant firm, HDR. Marlon, you can turn on your camera and give your presentation.
Good morning. Thank you for your interest in this presentation. We look forward to sharing updates on the design and talking through the next steps for the project. The goal of this meeting is to provide information about the background and history of the project and explain proposed improvements for West Bay Drive. Several design options were considered for this project. The design is nearly complete and incorporates feedback from community and agency partners that was shared through the project's planning and design process. We want to give you an opportunity to see the planned improvements and ask any questions you may have. The project begins at Bel Air Bridge and Bel Air Bluffs and continues east for approximately 1.9 miles to the intersection of Clearwater-Largo Road and Largo, connecting the beaches to the Pinellas Trail. Throughout the project limits, West Bay Drive extends through a mix of residential and suburban commercial neighborhoods. The project consists of milling and resurfacing and restriping the pavement, adding landscape medians and pedestrian crosswalks, and constructing a 10-foot wide sidewalk on the south side. The purpose of the project is to improve the roadway surface along with pedestrian safety and connectivity for residential areas and local businesses to the Pinellas Trail. The next two slides briefly explain how this project got started and how the concept that is now in design was developed. Pinellas County was planning to resurface West Bay Drive within the project limits in 2016. At that time, Ford Pinellas suggested a study to evaluate the possibility for a complete streets project with bicycle lanes or sidewalk improvements that could be implemented as part of the resurfacing project. Concepts considered included bike lanes and sidewalks, which required reducing the width of the travel lanes from 11 feet to 10 feet. Input from the community and local governments indicated that reducing the lane widths or acquiring additional right-of-way from adjacent property owners was not desirable. Accordingly, this concept was not recommended for design. In 2019, Pinellas County conducted a second study to evaluate other alternatives. Based on stakeholder outreach from city and agency partners, the county recommended a new concept that did not reduce the lane widths. The proposed concept included milling and resurfacing and restriping the pavement, adding landscape medians and pedestrian crosswalks, and constructing a 10-foot wide sidewalk on the south side of the roadway. This concept was advanced to the design phase. Now let's look at the design for the proposed changes to West Bay Drive. The goals of this project are improve the roadway surface, increase driver, pedestrian, and bicycle safety, and improve pedestrian connectivity. These goals will be accomplished by resurfacing and restriping the roadway, constructing a new 10-foot sidewalk on the south side of the project area, and adding pedestrian crosswalks with flashing beacons at landscape medians. These improvements will better connect West Bay Drive neighborhoods, the Largo Medical Arts District, the Bel Air Beach Causeway Bridge, beach communities, and the Pinellas Trail. Resurfacing and restriping is proposed within the entire project corridor between the Bel Air Bridge and Clearwater Largo Road. From Indian Rocks Road to Clearwater Largo Road, a new 10-foot wide sidewalk will be constructed on the south side of the project area. 6 landscape medians will also be constructed. 2 will include pedestrian crosswalks with flashing beacons. Plants selected for landscape medians will be easy to maintain and will not interfere with driver visibility. Vehicle lane widths will remain unchanged throughout the project limits. Planned improvements between the Bel Air Bridge and Sunset Road include milling and resurfacing only. This existing segment of West Bay Drive includes one 12-foot travel lane and 4-foot bike lane in each direction, separated by a center 2-way left turn lane with 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. No changes are proposed. Planned improvements between Sunset Boulevard and Indian Rocks Road include milling and resurfacing only. This existing segment of West Bay Drive includes 2 travel lanes in each direction, separated by a center 2-way left turn lane with 8-foot sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. No changes are proposed. Between Indian Rocks Road and Clearwater Largo Road, the project includes milling and resurfacing. This existing segment of West Bay Drive includes 2 travel lanes in each direction, separated by a 12-foot center 2-way left turn lane with sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. The planned improvements for this section include replacing the existing sidewalk on the south side of the roadway with a 10-foot wide sidewalk. Medians with landscaping will also be constructed within the center turn lane in 6 locations along the project corridor for beautification. 2 medians will include pedestrian crossings to improve pedestrian safety. Between Indian Rocks Road to Larchwood Boulevard, in addition to resurfacing and restriping, 3 landscape medians will be added. One of these medians closest to Larchwood Boulevard will include a pedestrian crosswalk. A new 10-foot wide sidewalk will be constructed on the south side of the roadway. Access to driveways in this section of the roadway will be maintained. Median 1 is a landscape median east of Indian Rocks Road and Valencia Boulevard that is part of a left turn lane from westbound West Bay Drive to southbound Indian Rocks Road. The median will extend across 2 driveways on the north side of West Bay Drive and the most western of 3 driveways to the public shopping center on the south side. Access from these driveways will not be impacted as left turns are currently prohibited. The traffic divider at the intersection will be shortened to allow left turn access to Valencia Boulevard. Median 2 is a smaller landscape median just west of Overbrook Boulevard. No driveway or side street access will be impacted. Median 3 is a landscape median with a pedestrian crossing between Temple Lane and Larchwood Boulevard. Left turns will be impacted for 2 driveways on the north and 1 driveway on the south at median 3. However, the left turn access for these movements will be accommodated from Temple Lane and Larchwood Boulevard. Left turns from the side streets will not be changed. Here is a rendering showing how median 3 will look after construction from West Bay Drive facing east. The pedestrian crosswalk and median are similar in design to the existing crossing on West Bay Drive near the Pinellas Trail. The crosswalk will include rectangular rapid flashing beacons that can be activated by pedestrians who want to cross West Bay Drive. The median will include landscaping and the crossing will be ADA accessible. Between Larchwood Boulevard and East Overbrook Drive, one landscape median will be constructed between West Overbrook Drive and Kilgore Drive. A new 10-foot wide sidewalk will be constructed on the south side of the roadway. Access to driveways in this section of the roadway will be maintained. Median 4 is a landscape median just east of West Overbrook Boulevard. No driveway or side street access will be impacted. Between East Overbrook Drive and Velma Drive West, one landscape median will be constructed between Tropic Boulevard West and Tropic Boulevard East. A new 10-foot wide sidewalk will be constructed on the south side of the roadway. Access to driveways in this section of the roadway will be maintained. However, the median does restrict left turn access between Tropic Boulevard East and Tropic Boulevard West. Median 5 is a landscape median between Tropic Boulevard West and Tropic Boulevard East. Left turns at the two driveways to shopping centers on the north side will be impacted. However, these movements can be accommodated on Tropic Boulevard East and Tropic Boulevard West. Left turns will also be restricted for the middle of the three driveways from the Village Plaza Shopping Center on the south side. No side street access will be impacted. A landscape median will be constructed between Velma Drive West and 15th Street Northwest. The median will include a pedestrian crossing. A new 10-foot wide sidewalk will be constructed on the south side of the roadway. Access to driveways in this section of the roadway will be maintained. Median 6 is a landscape median with a pedestrian crossing between Velma Drive West and 15th Street Northwest. Left turns from West Bay Drive to one driveway on the north and one driveway on the south will be restricted. No other driveways or side street access will be changed. This is a rendering of median 6, also facing east on West Bay Drive. The design of the median and pedestrian crossing also includes rectangular rapid flashing beacons, landscaping, and will be ADA accessible. No additional medians or pedestrian crosswalks will be added to this segment between the Pinellas Trail and Clearwater Largo Road. After today's meeting, this presentation will be posted on the website at the address provided in the notification postcard sent prior to the meeting and additionally shown at the end of this presentation. The project design is about 70% complete at this point. The feedback you provide will be used to help the team complete the design over the upcoming months in 2024. We expect to begin construction in mid-2025 and finish in early 2027. During the 18-month-long construction process, access to businesses and neighborhoods along West Bay Drive will be maintained. Much of the construction work will occur during the day, but milling and resurfacing will likely occur during nighttime hours. Motorists should expect some travel delays in the form of lane closures, lane shifts, and minor detours. Prior to work that affects driveways, the county or contractor will coordinate with all affected property owners. The project website will be updated during construction to keep the community informed about lane closures, changes in traffic patterns, and other important project information. We appreciate everyone hanging on with us through today's presentation. This was a lot of information to cover, but we thought it was important to be as transparent as possible. To recap, we've explained the planning and design work that has been completed to date, the purpose of the project, and what decisions were made in the past that resulted in the design we presented today. We shared the design plans, including the changes to the roadway, median improvements, sidewalk and pedestrian crossing upgrades. We also reviewed the next steps, including the upcoming construction plan to begin early next year. Now I'll turn it back over to Tony and we can begin taking questions or comments.
Thanks, Marlon. Now we'll move into the portion of the program where we'll answer your questions and listen to your comments. Give me just a second here while I share a slide. So for today's meeting, you'll have three ways to ask a question or offer a comment. First, you can type a question into the Q&A box. I see we already have one, and we'll read and answer them in the order they come in. Second, you can click on the raised hand icon to be placed into a queue to be called on to talk. And third, if you phoned in, you can press *9 on your keypad to be placed into the same queue. For those of you who are new to Zoom, if you move your cursor to the bottom of the screen, you'll bring up a toolbar that includes a Q&A icon and the raised hand, as you'll see there in the slide. The toolbar may be at the top of the screen if you're on an iPad or another mobile device. If you're having technical difficulty with Zoom, you can call in at the numbers shown on the screen. Our goal is to answer every question, and as we go through this process, we'll mix in typed questions and raised hands and any call-ins that we get. We're going to try to avoid answering questions that have been asked and answered, but again, the meeting will be posted on the project website and you'll be able to review it there. We do ask that if you're going to offer a comment, please keep it to 2 minutes so that we can get to everyone. The Q&A will be moderated by Joan Rice, an engineer from our transportation division. Joan will either answer your question or she'll pass it on to one of our panelists. Marlon is going to stay on as a panelist, and I'll introduce the others now. Panelists, when I call your name, please turn on your camera and say hello. First, our transportation section manager, Rob Metter. Hi, Rob.
Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. Next, our transportation division director, Tom Washburn. Hi, Tom.
Good morning, Tony. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today.
Next, our county project manager and your primary contact for information about this project, Ann Venables. Hi, Ann.
Well, hello and good morning. Sorry. Welcome, everyone.
We also have with us City of Largo Senior Engineer Barry Westmark. Hi, Barry.
Good morning.
Okay, so Joan, I think we are ready to start the Q&A. Why don't you come on and say hello and take it from here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. And we already have questions popping up. The first two are the same, so we'll go ahead and ask the first one, and it's going to be directed to Ann, our project manager. Will the existing crosswalk between Sunset and the bridge, Port Bel Air area, have a median?
At this time, it was not shown in the exhibits we showed today in the presentation. However, it is being considered and the county is working with the city.
Thank you very much. And since the second one was the same one, I'm going to say that we answered it as well. I'm sorry, I'm reading ahead here and trying to make sure that I get everything here. Okay, I'm moving down. The next question is going to go to Marlon. Can you go back and explain the typical section between Sunset Boulevard and Indian Rocks Road? Too fast during the presentation, need to see the slide again. Marlon? Marlon, you're muted.
Joan, can you confirm that you can see the slide?
I cannot see the slide.
Okay. How about now?
I can see it now. Thank you, sir.
Okay. This is the slide from the presentation from Sunset Boulevard to Indian Rocks Road. Basically, in this area, we're maintaining the existing typical section. Basically, anything west of Indian Rocks Road toward the bridge is being maintained in its existing condition. So the travel lanes and travel lane widths will remain the same as they are today, and we will be maintaining the two-way left turn lane in the median, as well as the sidewalks along the outside.
Okay, thank you. And Robert, if that didn't answer your question, please add another question further down. The next question is for Ann. Will construction from Indian Rocks Road be completed across all lanes and the new 10-foot sidewalk, or will one side of the road be rebuilt before moving on to the other lanes and sidewalk? Ann?
I will attempt to answer this. I may need some help from Marlon, but basically we will be resurfacing the road. We won't be reconstructing it. So there will be work for resurfacing on one side at a time, and then the sidewalk construction would most likely be a separate effort during that construction period. However, Marlon, can you add anything to that?
Yeah, we anticipate that the sidewalk work will be done first. We will also be looking to put the pedestrian crossings and the median in as soon as possible to assist with maintenance of pedestrian traffic during the construction. We anticipate that the actual milling and resurfacing and restriping of the road will be one of the last activities, as that is usually a cleanup activity towards the end to basically configure everything to the final configuration and get the final striping out there. So we anticipate, in the contractor, since this will be a linear project, we'll be working to try to contain this within certain areas as it progresses so that we can maintain pedestrian access and detours during construction.
Okay, thank you very much. And next one is for you. It's about median number 1. During heavy beach traffic times, more frequent now, limited left turn lane access could lengthen the backups, which already at times extend to the 20th Street and further east.
Yes, we are aware of that issue. As Kelly mentioned, she lives in the area, and so do I. So I travel up and down that road all of the time. We are going to look at possibly extending the storage area for that left turn lane onto Indian Rocks Road. So we will try to address that the best we can.
Okay, thank you. The next one is also for Ann, and I'm going to be passing quite a few to you, I can see. What is the purpose of adding medians without crosswalks? Adding these medians seems to add to the difficulty of turning left in several places.
Thank you, June. The primary reason is to increase the aesthetics of the area. The city of Largo feels that it's very important to improve the aesthetics along West Bay Drive, and we also hope that it could possibly slow down some of the traffic.
Okay, thank you. And I also want to point out that the resurfacing part of this project will most likely be done at night. Okay, the next one is, I guess there was a problem with the presentation, and I apologize for this, is your volume cutting out, cannot follow this presentation, and not enough background info to this project was presented. And maybe you could point out that we do have a website, if you could say where that is, and there's more information there for them.
Okay, thank you, June. Yes, you can look at the website. There'll be additional information, as Joan indicated. The best way to find it is just to Google West Bay Drive, Pinellas County, but the actual address is on the screen now, and it's also on the card that was sent to you or that you received in the mail.
Thank you. And also, this presentation will also be given this evening at 6 o'clock, so you could just come into that meeting if you need to, or if you're available. Okay, Anne, putting a median left of Overbrook Boulevard and Larkwood would be a nightmare for people making a left turn towards the beach.
Marlon, maybe you could address this one.
Okay. I am sharing the screen, and what I'm sharing for everyone's benefit is the project overview graphic that is available on the website. The concern, I believe, is with this median with the pedestrian crosswalk between Larchwood Boulevard and Oakwood. We are not restricting the left turns from the side streets. So, the side street access that's referenced in this question will remain unchanged.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Anne. I believe you stated that one purpose of the project was to connect West Bay to the Pinellas Trail, and yet the project does not provide for bicycle trails throughout. How could the project meet this important initiative?
This is a very good question. Unfortunately, in order to include bike lanes in this project, the travel lanes themselves would have had to been reduced. During earlier meetings with the earlier studies, it was indicated by the local government and the community that reducing the lanes was not a good idea. So unfortunately, we could not add bicycle lanes. However, the 10-foot sidewalk will help connect pedestrians and bicyclists to the trail.
And there's a trail connection underneath the trail right there at West Bay by the McDonald's. So even though you're winding on the south side, you could ride on the south side and then get on either the north or the south side. Okay, thank you. Next question is, the traffic is very bad on the weekends and high tourist season. Is there a plan to make lane closures coincide with lower traffic times? Anne?
We certainly would make every attempt to do that. However, I will let Marlon address that in more detail.
Okay. Marlon?
Yes, we anticipate that the milling and resurfacing work will be done at night, as previously stated in one of the answers to the other questions. So that's typically what we're seeing in the traffic volume data that's available for this roadway, that those traffic volumes are lower during that period, and it makes for a better work environment to be able to perform that work at night.
Okay.
Excuse me, Joan. Joan, we have a couple of raised hands. Would it be okay if we get to those?
Yes, we are. Thank you for chiming in. I guess, can we go with the first one, Mr. Steve Spencer?
Steve, you should be able to unmute yourself. And speak.
I think I'm muted. Did I unmute?
No, you're good.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I had previously contacted Ann, and she's kind enough to tell me about this, and I sent a little sketch. But I own a building at 1931 West Bay Drive. It's at the southeast corner of 20th and West Bay. It's the second building to the east. Okay, and my question was, I don't know if you can pull up the slide of that area, please, Marlon. That shows that.
Marlon, are you pulling it up?
Yes, I'm working on that.
Thank you.
Yes, Steve, I did coordinate this with Marlon, so he is prepared to answer your question today.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so I'm the second building. Yeah, right there, exactly. And do you see the striping that's out front there in the center lane, the striping?
Yes, sir.
Well, if you see my access to drive into my building.
Yes, it's this driveway here, I believe.
Yes, sir. And then if you go, that striping, is there any way it could be just shifted to the east? The reason I say that, the building next to me, his drive access, like where he only has one, it's a one way. Mine's two ways, in and out. His is one way, that's in. So it's really, it really wouldn't hurt if it could just get shifted just a little. I don't know if that's possible or if the striping matters. I just would hate to see people like kind of partway in that lane blocking, trying to make a left-hand turn into my building.
Yes, to answer your question, we've looked at an alternative treatment at that location that we're going to, we're coordinating with the county. As you see towards the other side, where we basically allow the left turn, remove that striping and allow the left turn lane to continue up closer to the intersection to address that issue. So we're coordinating that to make that change and get concurrence with that. I appreciate you sending that question ahead of time. That gave us a chance to start looking at that beforehand and be able to prepare to discuss that with you today.
No, well, listen, thanks a lot. And Ann was very helpful. And I remember when the city and folks came out must have been 2 years ago, talking about this project. So I'm very, very excited to see this project going, because it is certainly needed and it looks great. Thanks for everything. And thank you for taking my question.
Thank you. Tony, I don't see any other raised hands.
I think we're good, Joe. I don't see any other raised hands at the moment.
Okay, then we'll go back to Ann, talking about the medians. Was there any consideration of the impact that the medians would have on businesses where left turns will be now restricted? And Ann, you might have to have some help from Barry.
Yes. Yes, we do want to assure you that this concern was very obvious for all of us, and it was something that we considered as we developed the median locations. They were revised more than once based on input that we got from property owners. The city staff, including Barry Westmark, the city engineer, actually went out and personally met with most or all of the property owners that would be impacted. And also we talked to some of the business tenants as well. And I will let Barry expand on that and explain a little bit more about his coordination.
Thank you, Ann. Yes, to the extent we could visit all businesses and especially the businesses that would be impacted, we did make a significant outreach. And there is a consideration. There's some trade-off there with respect to medians. Part of our research had to do with what is the impact of medians to businesses, and I am happy to share that information. The result of the research is that medians are not a factor that affect the viability of businesses, and in many cases it improves the business. Just commerce, and it definitely improves the property values.
Thank you, Barry. And the next one's I'm going to ask Marlon to answer for us. Where will the phase 1 schedule begin? Are you going to be working from east to west or west to east?
We have not made a determination on that. Typically, that becomes up to the contractor and the contractor schedule based on the sequence of work. What we do anticipate is that we will start some of the median work at the pedestrian crossings early, so that they will be available for use during construction. There's no other constraint that we see at this time that would show a preference for starting on the east or the west side. So it will really be a function of their sequencing.
Okay, thank you. Next question is for Ann. Will the merge lane approaching the Bel Air Bridge across from Panera Bread be altered?
Basically, no changes are proposed between Indian Rocks Road or between the bridge and Indian Rocks Road within the city of Bel Air Bluffs. The only work that will be done will be resurfacing the roadway. So the answer would be no.
Okay, thank you. And then Ann, also, can the right turn off of West Bay onto Sunset Boulevard be eliminated?
That is not something that we are considering. Tom, would you have any other comments on that question?
Yeah, just briefly. That continuous turn lane there that drops at Sunset is there to help get traffic through the intersection at Indian Rocks Beach or Indian Rocks Road. At this time, we wouldn't really consider that. We certainly can coordinate with the city of Bel Air Bluffs and see if they want us to take a look at that, but that would still require a merge at some point, so we'd have to work that in, probably through striping and through some type of curbing that's already out there, but it's not something that we are recommending at this time.
Thank you, Tom. Ann, can the right turn off of West Bay onto well, that was what I just asked. Sorry about that. Okay, Ann, will the west driveway leaving Publix now only allow for right turns?
I'm looking at the diagram, trying to address that question accurately. Yes, there will be a median that is located in front of that driveway. So left turns going west will not be allowed. So yes, you would need to turn right out of that driveway.
But aren't they signed now that you must turn right?
Yes, I don't think it's a change. It's not a change to the existing condition.
Right. So if you're making that left now, you're going against the sign.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. The next question. Is there an opportunity to accommodate protected bike lanes to insulate cyclists from high-speed traffic on West Bay and the connections to the Pinellas Trail? And Ann, that kind of goes in line with what you had said before. So do you want to just quick address again about not having the space for it?
Yes, I think you just answered the question. However, yes, again, we would have to reduce the lanes, the travel lanes, the width, which was not desirable from the community's point or the local government's point in order to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question is about trees. Will any existing trees be lost with the sidewalk or other extensions? And if so, will they be replaced?
I believe there are only a very few, if any, very small trees along this corridor that would be impacted. Marlon, could you add to that?
Yeah, there are some trees that have been identified. Most of the sidewalk widening is towards West Bay Drive on the south side. And like if what comes to mind is in front of the Publix, there's existing palm trees that are out there that we have identified, that landscaping that have been in there. That will be removed. Unfortunately, with the widening of the sidewalk, there's not a lot of opportunity on that side to put landscaping trees back in because of the proximity to the curb line. They need to be set back for safety reasons, certain distances from the curbs. So yes, there will be some trees, and then unfortunately there are some locations like that landscaping and the utility strips that are out there now that we will not be able to replace back in kind.
Thank you. The next question is for Tom. Has any consideration been given to putting a traffic light at West Bay and Bluff View Drive? Traffic backs up and people can't get out in Bluff View Drive. They can't get in or out.
Yep. No, thanks, Joan. Yeah, it's been a while since we've looked at that intersection. Honestly, I think the last time was probably about the time we were building the Bel Air Causeway Bridge. There are certain requirements that have to be satisfied to consider putting a signal in. We can certainly take a look and see what's going on if the delays are significant and see if there's other less restrictive measures to help with that. But like I said, it's been a long time since we've looked at that intersection in particular for a signal.
Thank you, Tom. The next question is just a comment. This is going to be a traffic nightmare during and when it's completed. Also, emergency vehicles need access. So thank you for your comment on that. If anybody has anything else they'd like to add to that, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm just going to move on to the next question. Okay, the next question is, which communities oppose the protected bike lanes and access to the trail? And I think that was all part of the preliminary projects, and it was a accumulation of several, wasn't it, Ann?
Yes, actually, I think you were more involved in those early studies, so I thought you might be able to address it better. But yeah. My understanding was that, yes, there were meetings with the local governments, mostly Largo and Bel Air Bluffs, but primarily Largo's input. And you also met with the fire chief and police and other agencies.
Correct. And also, we got a lot of information even from PSTA for the bus routes. People with boat trailers, they were very concerned that if we shrunk the lanes up too much in order to get the proper size bike lane in, we would have problems with the other lanes that are out there. So it was decided that we would not change the lanes and add the bike lane. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, can you restate the start and completion dates again?
Certainly. Well, we anticipate that the construction would start in mid-2025, and we would anticipate that it would take 18 months and be completed in early 2027.
Yep. Thank you. And then can the white pins be replaced by a concrete barrier off of West Bay onto Sunset? And if you need to ask Marlon that, you can.
Or that might be a Tom question, because I know that's something that we're discussing with Bel Air Bluffs.
Oh, okay. Tom?
Yeah, and I'd say typically when we put those, it's quick curb with the flex posts. When we put those in, it's usually followed up at some point in the future with raised concrete. We know those things, get knocked around over time. They get brittle, they fly off, they get dirty, and they don't look all that great after a while. So yeah, that's typically the plan, is to come in with something a little more permanent once we've established that we've taken care of the situation that we were trying to address.
Thank you, Tom. And then also there's a question, Tom, I'm going to ask you this one too. Would there be an option of putting a no left turn sign from Bluff View onto West Bay?
Yeah, certainly. Like I said, when we get out there and take a look at it, if are issues that need to be addressed, we'll look for what the appropriate solution is. Like I said, it's been a long time since we've been asked to look at that location, but certainly happy to do it.
Okay. Tony, is there anybody else with a raised hand or somebody on the phone that would like to ask a question? Tony,
Yeah, hang on one second, I'm looking.
sorry.
Sorry, Joan, there are no raised hands.
Okay, and
I do see some questions in the Q&A. Have we covered all those?
we've covered everything.
Okay.
Unless anybody else has anything else they'd like to ask, you type in, or if they need to raise their hand, and we're going to be passing it over. If you do have more questions later, though, you can either join in at 6 o'clock or even just call Ann at her office. So, Tony, I see no more questions, so I'm going to pass it back to you.
Outstanding. So before we close, here, let me share my screen real quick. We were hoping you would help us with a quick 2-question survey. And it should pop up on your screen right now. This will help us and the city of Largo understand how effective our outreach has been in letting you know about this meeting today. So I'll just leave this up for a couple seconds and then we'll close out the meeting. Okay, I hope you can see the contact information on the slide. So great meeting. This is going to conclude today's meeting. If you have additional questions or comments, you can reach out to Ann at the contact information shown on the slide. And if you can't see it there if the poll's on the way, it's pinellas.gov /west-bay. And it's also, you can find all her contact information on that website. Thanks for joining us, and hope you have a great day.